Welcome back, y'all, to CFP Enthusiasts. My name is Jimmy, and today, as y'all can tell, it's just me right now. Pat and Jacob are currently unavailable to do the pod, but it's okay. I'm here holding it down for y'all. Don't worry. Make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and share this to a friend, a family member who is passionate about college football, because as y'all know, we do bleed college football over here. So just get this fan base growing. Make sure to follow us on Instagram too, CFB_enthusiast. That's where we'll post a lot of our short form type of content for y'all. Today, I want to talk about the 4 semifinal games that we have coming up here on New Year's Eve and then New Year's Day. There's the one Boise State and Penn State that's going to be on New Year's Eve. And then on New Year's Day, we'll get the rest of the 3 games that we have for the college football playoffs, the second round. Before we do get into that, though, I do want to kind of talk about the first round a little bit and the dialogue that has been surrounding the first round of the college football playoffs. Now, as we know, games weren't particularly close. Games weren't really enjoyable to watch, and fans were in an uproar saying that certain teams didn't belong in the college football playoffs, or they should change the format because we see all these blowouts, and that had me flabbergasted, to say the least. That's the only word I could come up with right now. Blowouts have been happening in the college football playoffs. Blowouts were happening when we took the top 4 teams in college football. Don't believe me? Watch this. Just to recap, Texas beat Clemson by 14. Notre Dame beat Indiana by 10, which was honestly a lot more than 10. Let's just be honest. Penn State beat SMU by 28, and Ohio State beat Tennessee by 25, right? Games were really competitive. The only game that was semi-competitive was the Texas-Clemson game, and then Texas pulled away at the end. The average combined margin of victory in those 4 games that we had this past weekend was 19 points per game, 19.2. I went back and looked at all of the semifinal games of the college football playoffs. Remember, we're taking the top 4 teams here. So this is the cream of the crop, right? We're not doing auto bids. We're not, the top 4 teams make the playoffs, right? From 2014 through 2023. There were 20 college football playoff semifinal games that were played from 2014 to 2023. The average margin of victory was 17.7 points per game in those 20 matchups. Average margin of victory, 17.7, pretty much 18 point per game margin compared to 19, which is what we had last week. Are we still gonna blame the quality of the teams that are in the playoffs? Did we complain about the quality teams that were in the playoffs when it was 4 teams? Now we might have argued who should have gotten in over who, and that debate's gonna live on forever. We weren't questioning the quality of those teams in the 14 playoffs. So why are we questioning it now? Even though the points per game margin is roughly the same. In a smaller sample size, by the way. I get it. A lot of it's a money grab. A lot of it's for viewership. A lot of it's for ratings. All of that good stuff. Would Alabama have gave Notre Dame a better game? Probably. Would Miami or whoever would have gave Penn State a better game? Probably. Ole Miss, probably. And I get the strength of schedule thing. I get the strength of schedule argument. I get it. But there's nothing you can do about the damn schedule. If you looked at Texas's schedule in the preseason, that shit looked tough as hell. But some teams were a lot worse than projected. Michigan, Oklahoma. What do you want Texas to do about it? Did Texas lose to those teams? No, they beat them. So there's nothing you can do about the schedule that you do have. You can't control if these other teams are going to be good or not. Now, if you looked at Indiana's schedule in the beginning of the season, you would have thought, okay, they might have a typical Indiana season. They might be 4-8. You can only play who's on your schedule, and Indiana destroyed most of the damn teams they put on their schedule. And people want to argue about strength of schedule with Alabama, Ole Miss. Okay, beat Kentucky, who had one Tower Conference win this season, and it was against yo ass Ole Miss. Beat Vanderbilt. Beat the worst Oklahoma team we've seen in forever, Alabama. Couldn't score a touchdown on them? Do you really deserve to be in the playoffs? You can't even compete with Oklahoma. One of the worst Oklahoma teams we've seen in a while. Okay. But y'all deserve to be. Okay. That's where my frustration kind of lies. It's like, okay, it's one thing if you're 9-3, but you lost to Georgia, Tennessee, and Texas or something like that. Okay, I'll be like, that was a tough one. You might still make the playoff. Bro, you lost to Ole Miss. You lost to Kentucky. You lost to a Florida team who's in rebuild mode, trying to, come back from the ashes. Bama lost to OU by 21. They lost to Vanderbilt. Like, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? The playoffs, I think the 12 teams got in that was supposed to get in, and shit just happened. Blowouts happen all the damn time. The thing we love about college football so much, and we love it more than the NFL, is that it's so wildly unpredictable. It's so emotional. You don't know what the hell is going to happen a lot of the times on that football field in college. What comes along with that? Blowouts. And in college, we're more likely going to see a blowout than in the NFL, even if teams are more evenly matched. I'm just tired of that argument. I want that to stop, because we had 20 semifinal games, and the average margin of victory was 18 points per game. This past week was 19. So what's the damn difference? Now let's get into these preview and prediction videos before I kind of lose my cool here, man. Penn State, Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl. 3-6 matchup. I think Penn State is honestly a really bad matchup for Boise and Ashton Genty. Penn State has a great front seven led by Abdul Carter. They get after it. The one thing I really like about Penn State, they're really fast, but they're really physical at the same time. They're like a really good combination of both. And they're very disciplined. They have a top five defense, top five run defense specifically. The thing I want to see in this game, I think this game for Penn State's going to be more so like okay, let's try to get Drew Aller going type of game. Not that they're going to pull an Ohio State and go completely off of the game plan they're supposed to run, which we'll get to Ohio State here in a moment. But I think Penn State's going to try and get Drew Aller going, build up some confidence, try to work in his best plays, and see what works, see what doesn't. So moving forward in the semifinals and moving on, he's able to execute at a high level, right? So I expect a big game from him coming up. If all else fails, Kitron Allen and Nick Singleton can save the day, can carry the day if it gets a little dicey. But I don't really think it's going to get that way. I don't think Boise State's going to be able to keep up. Their defense is not impressive, nothing to write home about. I think Penn State really impressed me in the Pac-12 championship. Not Pac-12 championship. I'm thinking about Oregon. In the Big Ten championship against Oregon, they got up and down the field against Oregon. And that was one of the big games that James Franklin seems to always lose. And he lost that game kind of differently. Normally he loses like a game where the offense struggles and where the offense can't really do much. They moved up and down the field against Oregon, and that really impressed me. Drew Aller, and then Tyler Warren through the air is a menace. They put up some points and they were doing their thing. They had their way against Oregon's defense. And then in the playoffs against SMU in the first round, I didn't think they really played particularly well. But luckily they didn't have to do too much because the defense had 2 pick sixes. Like they're, you know what I mean? But when they needed to score, they were able to and put the game away. So they did enough to win that game last week. But this week, I think they bring the offense to full circle. On the flip side for Boise, I don't think that Maddox Madsen can make enough plays outside of Ashton Jeanty to really threat Penn State's defense. I just don't. I really just don't. I think against this Penn State front seven, it's going to be way too much to ask. Give me Penn State winning 45-21. They really get the offense going and shut down Jeanty. Let's talk about Ohio State and Oregon. This was a great game back in week 6, week 5, something like that. It came down to the last play. Will Howard slid with no time left, and they lost. And I think the narrative from that point on was, okay, Will Howard is going to hold this team back from potentially winning a championship. And I kind of paused, and it was like, well, Will Howard has been playing great, all season up to that point. And then even in that game, he was he played a great game. He played an outstanding game against Oregon. But everyone's going to remember the last play. He slid with no time left and ended up losing, right? There were a couple other plays that didn't go Ohio State's way. They had the pass interference call, which you can kind of, call that, maybe not, dicey play, 50-50 call. But both teams, I think this time around, I think they'll score on each other again. They'll be in the Rose Bowl. It's going to be a beautiful, like, kind of color matchup. Wonder what uniforms Oregon's going to wear, but it's going to be a great environment, and I think both teams are going to get up and down the field on each other again, pretty much like the first matchup. I think the difference this time around, and I have a bold prediction at the end of this prediction, but I think Ohio State must, and this is I think it's a non-negotiable, they must get pressure on Dylan Gabriel. They didn't get pressure really on him at all. They didn't sack him at all in the first matchup. And to Oregon's credit, they've allowed 6 sacks since week 2. Their offensive line is great. They figured it out. And they had 7 sacks in the first 2 weeks. So, they take care of Gabriel in pass pro. So he doesn't get touched often. But Ohio State has the ability to rush the passer. Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Sonny Styles, linebacker. They have got. They might bring Caleb Downs in there every once in a while. They got guys. Oh, they got guys. It's just a matter of backfilling that blitz if you're going to bring a blitz, because Dylan Gabriel is super good at getting the ball in his hands really quick, and that's the tricky part about Oregon. And I think that's just why I think their offense matches up pretty well with Ohio State's defense. Is that their Ohio State's corners can be had, especially number 1. I can't really pronounce his name at the moment. They can be had for sure, especially on downfield shots. You see Indiana pick at them a little bit. They had some success, but the rest of the game broke down for them. They weren't able to really take advantage of it. But Ohio State's corners can be had. Caleb Downs is special, but the corners, they can be had. And they did that. Oregon did that in that first game. Now they're going to be the big focus for Ohio State's defense in this game, because I think Ohio State's front seven is great. It's going to come down to those DBs making plays, man. Because Dylan Gabriel can elude pressure himself, and he knows he's been in college forever. He knows where the blitz is coming from a lot of the times, and it's just about making the right decision, making it quick. He does that more often than not. So a lot of credit to Dylan Gabriel as well as the offensive line, and him not getting sacked that much. On the flip side, the key for Ohio State is going to be them sticking to the game plan. I think it's that simple. I think it's that simple. In the Michigan game, they're trying to prove a point. They're trying to run the ball. They're trying to be tough and physical. For what? They could have went up and down at will against Michigan. Their defense is kind of overrated in a way. Michigan's defense is overrated in a way. And especially like Will Johnson being out, they had opportunities. They just wanted to kind of prove a point and, you know, kind of show people they can play a different style, which you don't need to, man. Fuck it. Just win the game. Now, they kind of reinforced, you know, the criticism by not executing that shit. They proved everyone's point. You know, they're trying to prove everyone wrong, but they just make their point stronger. Yeah, Ohio State can't really run the ball. They're not as physical, blah, blah, blah. And you're trying to prove them wrong, and you couldn't do it. So you just proved them right. So Chip Kelly knows that. Ryan Day knows that. They spread the ball against Tennessee, and look what happened. Emeka Egbuka can't cover him. Jeremiah Smith can't cover him. You can't. And then that's when the run game opens up with Judkins and with Henderson. When you spread them all out, and then you're getting success on the outside, you're able to then smash mouth in the middle. You're able to do that. And I think Will Howard has been outstanding this season. And I don't think he was the one. I honestly don't think he was the one to blame in the Michigan game, even though he threw 2 picks. That was mostly on the coaching staff, I think. And then you're putting all this pressure on Will Howard to then bail you out of a bad call or a bad series of plays. Then they got a pick in the Michigan game. They got a pick, and then they were like super conservative or running some really weird plays, like a tight end throwback, and then they had a play where someone was out in the flat. It was just bad, and they had to settle for a field goal, missed a field goal. It was bad. It was really bad. But against Tennessee, you really saw what Ohio State kind of is more. I think they have to throw to run in this game. Give me Ohio State. Give me Ohio State winning this game. I think they right their wrongs from the Michigan game. I think they understand what they have to do in order to be successful as an offense and win the game. So give me Oregon winning in a close one. It's going to be similar to the first game, I think. Give me Ohio State 34-31. And my bold prediction, I really think Ohio State is going to win the national championship. I think that Michigan game is going to end up being a really good thing for them. Now, not really a great thing for Ryan Day and his family, but if he brings a title to Columbus, then I think all is forgiven, right? Not all, maybe 95%. You still didn't beat Michigan since COVID, so they'll hold that over his head. But if they're able to win a national championship, I think a lot of that, most of that noise is going to die down. But I think they learn from those mistakes, and when they play to the capabilities of what they're able to play, I don't see anyone beating them. I don't. Now, let's do Georgia and Notre Dame. They're going to be in the Sugar Bowl, the 2-7 matchup. Gunnar Stockton is the guy from here on out for Georgia. Man, this is gonna be a fist fight, I think. This game might be ugly, both sides. I think so. Notre Dame got off that win against Indiana. Like I said, 10-point win, but it was honestly way more than a 10-point win, honestly. Notre Dame, the thing about them is that they play to their identity so freaking well. And that's, they're going to dink and dunk with these curl routes and these short routes, and then they're really going to pound you on the ground with Riley Leonard, QB power, QB draw, and sweep, and then they're going to bludgeon you with Jeremiah Love because they can. You know what I mean? They're super physical at offensive line. It's Notre Dame. They have great offensive line. They have good tight ends. They're able to block. They have a really good scheme offensively. that works for them. The thing that concerns me though, they're going to have to get into a game where they have to throw the ball in rather than it needs 200 plus passing yards and be really effective through the air. They played through the strength so well though. Jeremiah Love is a home run hitter. He's due. I mean, he's always due for a long run, as Indiana saw firsthand. Georgia's defense, there's a lot to be desired in the run game. Normally, Georgia and Kirby Smart have a really great run defense. They've struggled a lot this year. I think Notre Dame is going to really look at a lot of the stuff that Georgia Tech was doing against them. They were getting down the field with Haynes King, and even to a lesser degree, maybe like a Mississippi State. Mississippi State was terrible, but they put up 31 points, and they were getting down on Georgia, up and down the field on them. So I think Notre Dame's going to look at a lot of that type of stuff and emulate some of the things that they do, that they did into their game plan. I think the thing with this game though is I think Georgia can pin their ears back. There's gonna be one-on-ones all over the field. I think Georgia's just gonna run blitz like crazy. They're just gonna spam that. And I think the same thing can be said on the flip side of things. How much is Kirby Smart gonna trust Gunnar Stockton to go out there and sling the ball around? Travis Etienne is kind of getting healthier. You know, he came back in the Texas game, came up big in that game, had the game-winning touchdown, had a long run earlier in the game, and he had a couple weeks off from his, I think he hurt his ribs. He was out. He hurt his ribs, so he has 2 more weeks of healing with that. So I think that the run game is going to be huge for Georgia. With him, Nate Frazier, and then Cash Jones out the backfield, I think he can play a really important role in this game. Gunnar Stockton's going to have to find some plays, though. I mean, in the Texas game, I think he made 1 to 2 really good plays with his arm. The 1-2, I think it was Delp heading into the red zone. I think Delp made a really good toe tap catch or whatever it was, and then they ended up running it in. But other than that, I can't really remember a play where Gunnar Stockton really impressed me with his arm, and I was like, oh, well, maybe he can do some stuff. They're going to run the ball a lot with him. He's a physical type of quarterback that is able to be more mobile than what, Gunnar, not Gunnar, what's his name? Then Carson Beck was able to give him. But I don't think he'll be able to come up with enough down the field. Notre Dame has a really fucking good defense. I think this is going to be a dogfight. So give me Notre Dame to win the game. Give me 24-17 Notre Dame. 24-17 Notre Dame. I think they win. Now, let's talk about my Longhorns. Texas versus Arizona State. Texas heading back to the A. Shout out to Gunna. They play Arizona State on the Peach Bowl, right back in Atlanta for the second time. It should be 2 out of 3. So this shouldn't be the last time Texas heads back to Atlanta. That's my expectation as a fan. But in this matchup, Arizona State's well rested from the Big 12 championship game in early December. Texas obviously played 2 weeks ago against Clemson, and it was kind of weird to watch Texas last week because they looked kind of like the complete opposite of what they've looked all year long, which was really trippy for me as a fan. The defense wasn't great, and the offense was on fire, and the run game was on fire. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. I think that's just a byproduct of the matchup, though, with Clemson. I knew Klubnik was going to make some plays with his arm, some plays with his legs. He's a really good quarterback, really good dual threat, and the best quarterback we've played all year long. He put up, 330 total yards or whatnot, a couple touchdowns. He did have a pick. But, I think that this was a good thing that our defense had a really poor day, especially our secondary. Manny Muhammad really struggled. Gavin Hope stepped up. Gilbo struggled. A couple of our other guys didn't really play their best game. Not bad by any means, but not up to standard. You know what I mean? I think they know that, and I think they will reset, the buttons, so to speak, and come back with some fire and some discipline in order to be successful in this game. Overall, the defense, I think, wasn't bad. I mean, aside from the secondary, I don't think the defense is all that bad. We could have got more pressure on Klubnik. But the real takeaway from that Clemson game was the offense for me. And what I mean by that is, if Texas stays ahead of like the change, so to speak, and stays ahead of, disaster, I think they can definitely win a national championship. Because that means that there's not as much on Quinn Ewers' plate. And I think we've seen, if there's a lot on Quinn Ewers' plate, can he get over the hump for you? Probably not. I'm just being honest. Now, is Quinn really great when he's on schedule, when the offense is on schedule, on time, and in rhythm? Yes. Can he get your team back into rhythm and take over a game and be the alpha? That, I think, is the issue. That, I think, is the question. That is what we've seen so far in our losses. And it's not just like a Georgia thing. It's like how Georgia plays us. In Georgia, they're not going to let you run the ball. At least with our running scheme, it doesn't bode well against Georgia for whatever reason. Right? And that's where all the arch talk comes in, whatnot. But they stifle our run game, and that forces Quinn Ewers to have to beat us. Like, he has to be extraordinary to win the game. And a lot of times he can't do that. Now, he played great in the SEC championship game, but most of the time, Quinn Ewers is not going to win you the game with, be that guy, so to speak. If y'all know what I'm saying. He can be a guy that can be complimentary to the team. If we're running the ball really well with Blue and Wisner, hopefully Wisner is good. If we're running the ball well with them too, and our offense is ahead of schedule, and we're able to do play action stuff, we're able to do our digs, our 18-yard digs, and these shot plays and these deep posts, things of that nature. Okay, great. And the offensive line is solid and clean pocket, great. But when the pocket is breaking down, or we're 2nd and 13, 3rd and 9, now you're asking a lot of Quinn, because he's showing you that he is not capable of doing that and being successful at, overcoming the team on a consistent basis, at least. And that's okay, but we know we have to do. Right? And I think that's going to be the biggest key in this game, keeping that going with the ground game, staying ahead of the sticks. The play calling has to be really good, because we're not going to overcome poor play calling either. That has to be the key for Arizona State. Force Quinn Ewers to beat you. As crazy as it can sound. Force Quinn Ewers to beat you. That has to be their main focus. Do they have the guys to do that? We'll see. But they haven't shown it all year long. Their defense can be had. On the flip side, we all know the tail of the tape, Cam Scatterboo, Scat Pack. I really love him as a player and whatnot. He's super tough, super physical, but he's really dynamic and really versatile. He can catch it out the backfield, great blocker. So, they might go to Wildcat themselves. Well, I don't know if they want to call it Wildcats since they're the Sun Devils, But anyway, that's their guy, obviously. Sam Levitt is really good. I mean, he just was on record earlier saying that he's going to go out there and prove why he's better than Quinn. Okay, we're going to see. He's really good at using his legs and extending plays. I think he's a really good deep ball thrower, and I think that's where Arizona State's going to need to have some success. down the field, passing the ball down deep, and their guys making plays. Now, obviously, they don't have their premier guy, and Jordan Tyson, out for the season. Sucks for him, but they're going to need to find ways to get some chunk plays down the field, because other than that, I'm not sure how Sam Levin's going to really hold up. I mean, one thing I will say about Texas in the Clemson game, they played really well against Cade Klubnik's legs. I thought that was going to be a little bit more of a factor in that game, but we shut that down for the most part. Now, a lot of their stuff was predictable, honestly. Like, I was calling out, okay, QB power right here. And then they run QB power. Oh, QB draw right here. Then they run it. And I'm like, okay, Clemson, come on now. But Sam Levin's legs can be a big key in this game as well. He can really extend plays. He's like 6'2", 6'3", can get down the field in a hurry. And we must account for that. So it's going to be interesting to see how our linebackers play. If we're really disciplined, staying in our lanes, staying in our gaps, right? If we're able to shut down Scat Pack, I don't think they're going to be successful running Cam Scatterboot 25, 27, 28 times against Texas defense and expect to win. I don't think so. But all that being said, I think Texas wins. I think they cover as well. Give me Texas winning 31-13. They really shouldn't have too much of an issue with their offense if they can control that one guy. And we all know who that is, Cam Scatterboot. That's going to wrap it up. Let me know what y'all think about these playoff predictions. Who wins and why? And drop your score predictions down below. Like I mentioned, to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, we're trying to grow the channel over here, so any love would be much appreciated. If you can also follow us on Instagram, CFP_enthusiast. That's where we post a lot of our short form content. So we'll keep that going. We bleed college football over here, y'all. So we would love for y'all to join the community. And yeah, but other than that, my name is Jimmy from CFP Enthusiasts. I'm out. Peace.